Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending the third session of Fish Talk. We're so happy you could join us here. In the past, we've had two other sessions. We've covered different areas. We're going to make sure that we cover new items, new topics each session that we have, so that when you attend, you gain additional knowledge on fish farming, anything related to fish. So this time, in the past, we've covered tips and tricks on how to manage your fish farm. Also, we've talked about the kinds of fish that grow well in Kodagu. What are the best fish scenarios in Kodagu? And Shyam has, our speaker today is Pattada Shyam Ayappa. Obviously, there's no need to introduce this person, because if you're attending this session, you probably already all know Shyam Ayappa. It is such an honor for us to have him with us, allowing his expertise to be shared with all of us here today. Thank you so much. And I think we have, Shyam, about 25 attendees, but hopefully there will be a lot more people who will be watching this as a recorded video. Last time we had about 600 views, so I assume we will have this similar kind of views this time as well. So in this season, we'll be Shyam, let me also talk quickly about what we're going to cover in this session, so it helps you get started.
Yes,
in this session, we will be covering how to grow fish commercially, talk about fish farming itself. What is the revenue potential of fish farming? And now what's been happening is our coffee is at a really high price right now, but there's no guarantee how long it's going to continue. So this is the time for us to step in and start additional crops, additional sources of revenue. We have some capital probably set aside available to start these things that will provide for our future. So even if you look at some of the sessions that Coffee Board has had this last year, they've talked about not just depending on coffee and pepper as a crop, but also going into a third and fourth crop. And the third or fourth crop was suggested, fish farming was suggested as the third or fourth crop. So here is Pattada Shyam Ayappa to explain to us how we can actually look at fish as a crop, as a third or fourth crop in Kodagu.
Yeah. Thank you, Naina. Thanks for the introduction. You've covered most of whatever I would like to speak about in terms of introduction, so I can get straight to the topic now. Our topic for today is an extension of what we've done, like an improvisation, or rather advanced level of what we've done for the past two videos. We'll start sharing and then we can go ahead. So today's topic of discussion, or what we will try and cover, is how you can commercially grow fish in Coog. So a few weeks back, or something, a few times back, we had a discussion with the Department of Fisheries saying that Coog has very difficult potential for fish farming. We don't actually have the right temperature, right conditions, right mentality, because people are ideally digging or taking ponds for irrigation. So definitely that cannot be changed. We are all coffee and pepper farmers. Most of our activities, or whatever we plan, is revolving around this activity. Nevertheless, because of this, we have so many water bodies in Coog. The potential to grow fish in Coog is very, very high. We may not achieve the success or the production scale that probably Andhra does, or times that are because of the advantages of temperature they have and all that. But still, we have the water bodies, and we have, with few modifications or with few adaptations, we will be able to commercially grow, make fish a commercially viable crop, fish farming a commercially viable crop. So let's go ahead and see what we can do in Coog as a commercial fish farm. So last time I'd covered varieties and also discussed about these two promising ventures that we can have in Cook. One is the liner pond or tank. Now, what is a liner pond? Again, you have a barren piece of land, not in a very boggy or marshy area, but a little non-marshy space. If you have some space like this, you can dig the earth out, put the mud on the sides and make it a bund. You can line that pond, put a pond liner. You can have a HDP liner, a geomembrane liner, or LDP liner, or a silk polymer liner based on your budget and the scale and the pond size and the few points like that, and where you can source it from. Based on those things, you get one of the liners, you line it in the pond, and once you've lined it in the pond, you maroon it properly, and then there is a possibility of you using this pond to collect or harvest rainwater and start fish farming. Or if you have an open bore well, an open well, a bore well, or a stream or a river close by, you can use that water, or a pond. You can fill this tank with water from the pond and grow fish here. Now, interesting here is the depth can be very well managed. You're not unlike an irrigation pond, you are not forced to have a very deep pond. You can have a pond of about 5 feet deep, 4 feet deep, commercially good for, which is like advice for commercial fish farming. And you can stock with a few additions like aeration or biofloc farming technologies. You can grow quite a lot of fish in this pond. Now, let me talk to you a scenario where you have hope you all understood what the liner pond is. Now, let's go to the general economics of how it works. Say you have a liner pond size design of 100 feet length, 40 feet width, and 5 feet deep. The capital requirement for this would be about 1.2 lakhs to build this pond, including the liner, including the bird net, including the bund, including the aeration. Once you set this up and you are ready with the capital investment of 1.2 lakhs, you will stock this with tilapia fare. I'll talk to you about tilapia. There are other things that I'll discuss later, other varieties. So if you take tilapia as a variety, you can stock about 5,000 tilapia in this space. You will get the tilapia, including transportation, and at around 4 rupees per fingerling. You can have 2 cycles per year of 6 months each. So even if you consider 2 cycles, the cost of fingerlings for this pond, so 10,000 fingerlings, will cost you about 40,000 rupees. The feed. So see here, because it's a liner pond, you will have to feed the fish. They will have not have access to natural planktons, and you're already stocking it with a large quantity of fish. So you will have to feed the fish. Once you start feeding the fish, that becomes the main capital, or rather the running capital that you require. It's pretty high. So you will need about 2.4 lakhs in terms of feed for over 2 cycles. There is not much labor management required. Maybe when you harvest the fish, you will need some labor. And maybe when you exchange water, the electricity that is running for the aerators. These are the things that you will spend as maintenance cost. It's about 50,000. The total cost is coming to around 4.5 lakhs. So over 2 cycles, you can expect a fish production of 1.8 tons per cycle. And in 2 cycles, you can do about 3.6 tons. So even if at a farm, you sell it at a farm gate price of 150 rupees, you will be able to generate an income of 5.5 lakhs. So that means you've already recovered your capital investment, you've recovered all your running costs, and you've made a profit of about 1 lakh. I don't think any venture will kind of support any other agriculture venture will kind of give you such returns, unless you're doing something like ginger and you are in luck with good prices. So this is as far as tilapia is concerned. And you can also try to grow marl, which is a very expensive affair because your fingerling costs are high. Your feed has to be high protein, so your feed cost is high. But you will get, you can sell the fish. It's a premium fish. You can sell the fish at at 300, 280, 300 rupees farm gate price, or 400 rupees if you're doing um, direct to customer or retail sales per kilo, I'm saying. And like that, you can also try ornamental fish. I think I have a scale set of ornamental fish. This is also pretty lucrative. The industry is very, very huge. The amount of the number of fish, as it's a billion-dollar industry, and India is just catching up to the world. There are a lot of ornamental farms coming up, fish farms coming up, good support systems. There's the advantage of ornamental fish farming is you can sell the whole thing as bulk. Now, that's what we offer as Aquaventures Matsya Seva Kendra. This is what we offer. We handhold and we are able to buy back this fish. So if you take the Koi Carp, Japanese Koi Carp farming situation, the economics works out something similar to what you're seeing. The pond cost will be around 1.2 lakhs, same. You can stock 10,000 fingerlings at one time, because the reason is you're not growing them to large sizes. You're growing them to a size of 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches. And you can have, say, two cycles here also for 6 months each. Here, ornamental fish, the feed cost is not too high because they don't eat as much as much as the tilapia does. So your feed cost can come down. You need to give them quality feed. You need to maintain good quality water. Then the fish can grow very well. Again, the labor and maintenance cost is a little high. I've projected a little high here. The reason is when you talk about ornamental fish, you have to keep them alive. As in, your harvest has to be sent to the breeder or to the commercial farm or the procurer like us alive. Tilapia, you're catching them and killing them, and I mean it's coming as dead fish. But ornamental fish has to be, you have to spend a lot of money on live transportation. So your conditioning is there, treatment is there. A couple of factors are very have to be taken care of. They are very sensitive. So those investments are going to cost. So that's why I've projected a cost of 1 lakh. But overall cost is around just 3.5 lakhs. In terms of production, conservatively, this is what I've projected. You can do 3 cycles also, ideally, of the 4 months each. The harvest size is just 4 inches in the bow. You can conservatively, we say even if 50% survive, you're having about 5,000 fish from a tank. Over 2 cycles in a year, you're having 10,000 numbers. And the revenue from sales of this fish, farm gate price of say 25 rupees per fish, on an average, you are looking at a profit of an income of 2.5 lakhs. So you will say that probably tilapia is much better than koi. Why should I do koi? So there are multiple things. You will not be able to sell tilapia at such volumes at runtime. So if you say you're having 2 or 3 ponds done and you have 2 or 3 varieties going on, they all keep giving you good revenue streams. So in one tank you're doing tilapia, in the other tank you're doing koi, in the other tank you're starting the next batch of tilapia, in another tank you're starting the next batch of koi, or you're doing goldfish. So if you have say 3 or 4 tanks, which are not too big, 100 by 40 is not a big tank at all. Then you have multiple crops coming up, and you have income from multiple sources, from multiple varieties of sales. So some say your tilapia market is flooded, you're not able to sell tilapia. So koi will give you that money from the sale sale of koi will give you money for that particular month. So this is how you can probably spread out your risks, spread out your income, capital, cash flow status. So this is as far as the liner pond is concerned. These are what the possibilities and economics of liner pond farming look like. The next technology that we really are excited about that can be adopted in Cook is cage culture. Now, you will all have seen or heard about cage culture as they are happening in dams, in reservoirs, in large water bodies, or large scale, where they are talking about thousands of cages, boat going and feeding the fish, and things like that. So you'll say, no, cage is not a very easy system. And open sea cages, for instance, for salmons that they're doing in Europe, or in the coast of India, they're doing it for sea bass. Now in Cook also, we can adopt this technology. it's a brilliant technology. The reason why we say it's very adaptable to cook is because of the irrigation pond situation we have in Cook. Now, all our ponds are pretty big. You have half-acre pond, 1-acre pond, 3-acre ponds, say 100 by 100 pond or 1 by 100 pond, and they are all 20, 15, 20 feet deep. Now, in such ponds, fish farming is not very commercially successful. You will definitely harvest fish. With the advice that we give you, you will be able to get your fish definitely, but you will not be able to achieve scale. Now, in such a situation, what can you do? You say you have a 100 by 100 pond, which is about 20 feet deep. You can have these floating cages on it. Now, these cages are designed to be, we've done 10 by 10, 10 feet by 10 feet cages, but commercially, I think 20 feet by 10 feet is what we have found to be ideal. 20 feet wide, along 10 feet wide, and 5 feet deep. Now, when we float this, bottom is also covered obviously as a cage, and you can stock the fish in very, very large quantities. I'll give you the numbers a little later. So all the waste from the fish that's coming out of the fish just gets out of the cage and goes to the pond. And because it's a deep pond, it goes and settles in the floor. The natural biota takes care of all the waste, degrading the waste, and the cage, the water in the cage remains fresh. It's not a very capital intensive system, extremely doable, can be quite a lucrative business, as in you can use it as, I mean, what we've tried to do is we've built jetties along into the pond, say 30 feet jetty, and on the edge we've kept the cages. So you can walk inside the pond, you can feed your cage and come out. You can straight away simply drag the cage to the side and lift it up and remove your fish. Easy operations. You can have multiple cages going on, so multiple stocks going on, so that you have harvest going on different times. You can have different feeding strategies where you can, during the day, you can starve the fish for some time and get them a little high protein feed. You don't need to feed too much. So these are few ways you can play around with your dynamics to improvise your harvest, maximize your profit, and get the best out of your investment, or rather venture. So as you see in the cage, we've grown, we have grown tilapia again. That's pink tilapia. We've discontinued the process of growing pink tilapia because of red tilapia rather, because they are commercially not viable. We think the gray is much better. Gray is the gift tilapia or the Chitralala strain, and availability of fingerlings also is quite difficult for the red tilapia. So a projection of the cage tilapia culture in cages will look something like this. You can do 2 cycles of 112 days each. 112 days is an average thing that we say. It can be a little more, it can be less. You can commercially, you have to grade the fish, take out the big ones, and continue growing the small ones. So we do two cycles because we want to avoid the winter time. That's why we've just projected 2 cycles. Otherwise, you can do 3 cycles also if your pond's big and you have perennial source of water. Of course, winter time the fish will grow slightly slower, so you'll have to take that into consideration when you feed and do the economics. So potentially, output from the cages from the cages can be of 1,000 fish. Again, we've taken a scenario where we have 3 cages. 3 is perfect because your investment is not too high. You can do multiple cycles. That's why we've taken 3 cage situation. If you do one, you can do 1 cage also, but you won't see the kind of returns that will make it lucrative for you to do it. So 1,500 cages is what you can get out of 3 cages from 1 cycle. You can have 2 cycles in a year. Annual production potential is about 3 tons from the cages. And mind you, there's just 20 feet by 10 feet cages, and you're taking crop of 3 tons. An estimated expenditure for the cage and feed will be about 3.5 lakhs. And annual estimated revenue, same at the cost of 150 rupees at farm gate price, then 4.5 lakhs. So you're looking at a net profit of 1,10,000 rupees from 3 cages with an investment of 3.5 lakhs at a net return of 32%. This is quite doable in Cook. If everybody starts trying to do this, then we will definitely be one of the biggest or largest producers of fish in Karnataka, for sure. If just for you to understand better, we've put it in terms of graph. You're looking at the breakup of the cost involved. Capital cost is 29%, which includes the cage. Cages are not too expensive. We make them at the farm or at the Tech itself, and we will be able to supply. The cost may be in making the jetty, the walking ramp into the pond. But that's a one-time investment. You can probably amortize it over a couple of cycles. The seed cost is high. We've projected it at 10 rupees a fish. The reason is when you stock fish in the cage, you have to grow your fish first to at least about 10 grams. And then you have to stock them in the cage. So there are a couple of ways we advise you to do it. If you are interested, we will grow the fish up to 10 grams and give it to you. Or you can have a liner pond system or a smaller cage set up with a smaller mesh size where you are getting the fingerling and the fry, growing them to 10 grams, and then you're stocking them in your bigger cages. That also is possible in your farm itself. That's why we have put it the seed cost as 10 rupees per fish. And as cages, you have to feed them. They have no access to natural food or anything else, or biofloc or any other flock system. So you have to, they will depend on pelleted feed that you are feeding the fish. And the feed cost at an average of 40 rupees a kilo is about 17% of the total cost. And there are other variable costs like labor, there's electricity, because we've provided an option of aeration. Reason because the ponds are stagnant water bodies. Unlike reservoirs, which have water flowing through the cages, the ponds would not have too much water exchange happening. So we've introduced a simple aeration system, which just stimulates some movement of water in the cages so that the fish keeps getting fresh water. So the other reason is you are stocking the pond at the cage at the density of 120 fish per cubic meter. To have a comparison, the advised stocking density of fish in a pond an extensive system is 1 fish per cubic meter, and you are increasing the stocking density about 120 times. You can imagine the crowd that is going to be in the cage. So you have to provide them the necessary aeration and other things so that they have good oxygen, they have good access to good clean water. Otherwise, you will have face problems in terms of mortalities and also in terms of disease. So these are a couple of things that you might have to avoid. This is how the cost breakup looks like. I think these two are extremely viable, doable systems that you can practice in Coog. And I hope a lot of farmers will come forward, view this video, come up with some questions to us. We can address them and over conversations. We can provide them handholding services on marketing, on production, and also take them through the journey of fish farming. Of course, there are a few challenges that we think that we will face, but if we are doing it in a large scale, all these challenges can be negated. For instance, feed cost. As of now, the farmer in Andhra gets the best feed price because all the feed mills are situated in Andhra. If we want to procure feed, we have to get it from Andhra Pradesh. So the transportation cost and the commissions or other things works out, adds to the whole capital cost of feed. So if we have a large group coming and taking up this venture, then the bulk procurement of feed can bring down the cost, which will again help you save on your and give you more profits. I think I've covered most of it. If there are any other questions or queries, we are willing to take them. Our email and our numbers are given below. The Matsya Seva Kendra is there to help you with taking decisions, projecting and submitting a DPR, help you with the analysis, marketing, and brand building. Thank you. I hope this was pretty informative. And over to you, Nana.
Thank you, Shyam. Shyam, looks like we have some questions. We have one from Tina. She's asking about contamination of ponds. How do you deal with contamination in case of liner ponds? What is the strategy there? So can you please answer that?
Yeah. So contamination is actually a dangerous thing. If you overlook it, you have to be careful. As any other livestock, they need to be provided a good sun-free environment. All livestock have to live in good conditions. That's the only time that they will grow well. They won't have many disease, and they will be the most profit. So when you have a source, or there is a contaminated source, I advise you to avoid that source, one. And in case you ended up contaminating a water body, and hopefully you've realized it before you've seen mortalities of fish, then I would advise you to exchange it with good water, clean the space up. If there are problems, then you might have to treat the fish. If there are adverse situations, then you might have to harvest the pond. So depending on the situation, you might have to address them accordingly. But of course, you have to nip it at the bud. You have to make sure you get clean water. You have a good growing environment for the fish. A happy fish is a fast growing fish.